Today, we're going to discuss the disappearance of 11-year-old Gannon Stauch. He was brutally murdered and taken from this world. This story really hit close to home for me. Ever since I heard that Gannon was missing, it caught my attention. The reason it caught my attention is because I have a son named Gannon, who is 10 years old. You don't come across a name Gannon very often. Researching this case has been extremely difficult because I keep picturing my sweet Gannon. Both boys enjoyed many of the same things. My son came into my office multiple times while I was researching this case. One time he told me about his Fortnite game. Another time he told me he was playing with friends on his Nintendo Switch. And as he left, he said, "Love you, Mom." This warmed my heart. But when I started researching again, it made me sad when I realized the pain and suffering that Gannon went through on his last days and minutes on Earth. Did the person that was supposed to protect him end up murdering him? Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome to the Missing Link channel. Every unsolved mystery and missing person case is just one missing link away from being solved. Hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of our future videos and help us find that missing link. I am sure this is not the only video I will do on Gannon. Especially since this is an active case, I will keep you updated throughout the trial and as I know more. So let's begin with focusing on the victim, Sweet Gannon. Gannon was born on September 29th, 2008. His parents are Landon and Albert, or Al for short. He was born extremely premature and weighed only 1.6 ounces. His parents were told that he only had a 10% chance of survival. But he did survive, and he thrived. The doctors had also warned that if he did survive, he would be severely disabled, but that was not the case. His biological mother describes him as talented and gifted. From day one, Gannon was a fighter. Gannon was a typical 11-year-old. He was a 5th grader at the local elementary school. He loved Nintendo, especially his Nintendo Switch. His favorite games were Sonic and Mario. He loved playing outside with his friends and his sister. He loved playing on his bike, and especially he loved playing with his dogs. He liked Taco Tuesdays. His family called him G-Man and Buddy. Gannon has a lot of friends who love and miss him to this day. Gannon was described as sweet, caring, had such a kind heart, and was willing to help anyone. G-Man. I have called my son that numerous times. I think these two Gannons would have gotten along great. But unfortunately, Gannon Stauch will never have the chance to grow up. Gannon's biological parents ended up divorcing. Al had custody of Gannon, and his mother Landon lived in South Carolina. Gannon lived in Colorado with his father Al, 37, his stepmother Letitia, 36, his little sister Lena, who had just turned 8 5 days before Gannon disappeared. And also in the house was 17-year-old Harley, who was Letitia's daughter. They rented a beautiful 2,500 square foot ranch house near Colorado Springs, Colorado. The house has a 2-car attached garage. It is a newer home, and the Stauch family was the first to live there. The home has 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. 2 of the bedrooms were downstairs, including Gannon's. I'm going to state this right here. Everyone is presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law. This is the basis of our criminal justice system. This system must work to protect us all. What we are discussing today came from the police affidavit, family of the victim, neighbors, friends, and Letitia herself. There will also be speculation of things that we don't know exactly because obviously the police have not released all their information or all the evidence. And even if the police believe one thing and state it in the affidavit, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is fact or it is what the prosecution believe happens. Things can definitely change once they go to trial. Unfortunately, Gannon cannot speak for himself. We must speak for him. We are trying to determine what happened to him that day. Gannon deserves justice, whatever that might be. He deserves peace. The story begins on Saturday, January 25th, 2020. Gannon's father, Al, was in the military. He left that weekend for a military training in Oklahoma. He was gone from Saturday until Tuesday. which was January 25th to January 28th. The day after he left, it was a mild, nice day in Colorado, with temperatures above average. The temperature in Colorado Springs that Sunday was 52 degrees. Various neighbors heard the kids of the neighborhood playing that day, including Gannon and his little sister. They were playing outside, riding their bikes, really enjoying that nice, mild weather. There are neighbors' videos that show them playing outside. Later that afternoon, Letitia, Gannon, and Lena ended up going hiking at the Garden of the Gods. Various people came forward to say they saw this family at the Garden of the Gods around 3:30. In fact, they ended up being in the background of multiple people's pictures. The Garden of the Gods is an absolutely beautiful place, and I truly hope that Gannon enjoyed his time there that day. Sometime Sunday night, back at the house, Letitia claims that Gannon knocked over a candle and that wax spilled onto the carpet. She claims she accidentally recorded a video on her phone that night discussing this incident with Gannon, and later she posted it herself on Facebook. I'm going to play the audio from this video now. This audio can be very disturbing, so if you do not want to listen to it, I will place a timestamp in the description box and you can skip over it. However, I think it is extremely important to show the state of mind of Letitia and Gannon that evening.
And two, I just don't know what to do. Gannon, I promise it's the last time I want to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose? Okay, you promise. You promise. Pinky promise. Okay, alright, so, listen. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So, we figure out what we're gonna sell. We can sell the sofa, we can sell whatever, because we gotta get it fixed, so lady, don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house, okay? You got it?
Did Gannon just say, "I'm bleeding"? I'll play it again. What do you think he said? As you can hear, he promised that he didn't do it on purpose. He promised multiple times. Even Pinky promised. In the audio, Gannon's voice just breaks my heart. He seems so upset. Letitia made him feel so bad for what supposedly happened. When you have kids, things happen all the time, and they are truly accidents. I could write a book on some of the hilarious things my kids have done, but sometimes you just have to let it go, move on. Part of being a parent is teaching your kids that accidents happen and make it into a learning experience. This audio is so heartbreaking. Gannon was so upset before she even started talking to him. You could just hear it in his voice. We have no idea what truly happened before that audio, but we know from Letitia's own words that she freaked out on him. What does that mean? Did she yell at him? Did she strike him? Did she severely injure him? Was this altercation the first in a series of events that would eventually end Gannon's life? I believe this incident will be important later in the story. Letitia texted Al at 10:57 p.m. to say that Gannon had burnt the carpet downstairs. He is fine, he is sorry, but he is freaking out. Interesting she used the words freaking out, because we know from the audio that she's the one that freaked out. Let's move to Monday, January 27th, 2020. Letitia claims that Gannon and herself were up most of the night because he was sick. She claims that he was having stomach issues and he was getting sick all night long. The following morning, she called Gannon's school to tell them that he would be absent. In the early morning hours, she texted Al to tell him that Gannon was sick and that she was going to give work an excuse so she could stay home with Gannon that day. Letitia texted her employer at 4:37 a.m., and I cannot believe the excuse that she gave them. She told her employer that her stepdad had been hit by a car and that she wouldn't be coming into work that day. Not the fact that her stepson was sick and couldn't go to school. She didn't even make up a lie that she was sick. No, she went to such extremes and killed off her stepdad in her excuse, which, by the way, her stepfather had already passed away. I believe that something had already happened before 4:37 a.m. Either Letitia knew she was going to hurt her stepson, or she already had. Let's jump ahead to 6:55 that evening. Letitia called 911 and told story number 1. Yes, there will be many. She told the police that at 3:15 Gannon had left to go to a friend's house. He was wearing jeans, a jacket, and tennis shoes. She told them that he didn't take his phone and that he never returned home and he was over an hour late. She stated that she has been unable to locate him. I have so many problems with story number 1. First, if a kid is home all day sick from school, why would they go to a friend's house that evening? I wouldn't want the other family to get sick. And I'm guessing if you're sick all night long, you probably haven't eaten much, you're probably exhausted, and probably in bed sleeping most of the day. However, as you'll hear, Gannon did not get to rest that day. T had him out around town, so I would guess he would have been totally exhausted and wouldn't have the energy to venture to a friend's house. No way would my child be leaving that home. Second, she had no idea what friend's house he went to. How? How do you not know this? Why didn't you ask? Third, he didn't take his phone with him. What 12-year-old kid doesn't leave without their phone? Plus, as a parent, I would make sure that he did have the phone when he left, so that way I could contact him when I needed to. Isn't that the whole reason a 12-year-old would have a cell phone in the first place? Remember the fact that she said that he did not take his phone. She did not mention anything about him taking his Nintendo Switch, and he was only wearing a jacket, jeans, and tennis shoes. Letitia will claim later that he ran away. If he would have truly ran away, I think he would have taken a little bit more with him. We have never heard that he took anything with him that day. So Letitia claims she went looking for Gannon, but we have no evidence that she left the house, that she walked around the neighborhood, or that she asked the neighbors if anyone had seen him. The only thing she did was ask her daughter Harley to search the park. Was it really to search for Gannon, or was it to get Harley out of the house? Her 911 call was moved to a non-emergency number. I'm sure the police probably thought he was a 12-year-old boy at a friend's house, probably playing video games, and the time got away from him. He was only an hour late. I am sure they never would have believed what truly happened to Gannon. By the time deputies responded, which was hours later, Gannon still hadn't returned. They did a limited search of the house, but remember, they were just looking for a 12-year-old boy. They weren't looking for evidence. They did a missing persons report and established a tip line. So many people started looking for Gannon. So let's go back to Monday morning. What happened between 4:37 a.m. when Letitia texted her employer, or maybe even earlier, and the time that she called the police at 6:55 p.m.? Here is what we do know. At 8:13 and 8:17 a.m., Letitia took 2 photos of Gannon sleeping in his bed. His Nintendo Switch was visible in the photos. It was sitting right next to him. That Nintendo Switch has never been found. In the photos, Gannon's bed was not up against the wall. Gannon's father, Al, said that this was very unusual, that his bed was always pushed up against the wall. It looked like Gannon's bed was about a foot from the wall, which will be important later when the police find evidence in his room. Gannon is laying on his left side with his head on the pillow. The only part of his body that was visible outside the blankets is his right ear and the right side of his face. He had at least one blanket on top of him. However, the blanket was of multiple colors, so I couldn't tell if it was one blanket or if it was more than one. Letitia was inside the room when she took these photos. It looked like she was standing from the foot of his bed. When I first heard that photos were taken, I figured that Letitia was standing at the doorway when she took those photos. If my son was up all night sick and he finally fell asleep, I don't think I would risk going into his room in fear of waking him up. Why did she take those photos? Did she want proof that he was alive or that he was in his bedroom that morning? When I found that photo, I just stared at it for the longest time, and so many questions ran through my mind. Was Gannon really sick that night? Had he already been hurt? What was going through Gannon's mind that day? Poor Gannon. At the time of the photo, I hope he was having the most wonderful dream. because when he woke up, he was waking up to a nightmare. 9:56 a.m. was the last activity Letitia had on her phone. Her phone was unlocked from then until 2:45 later that afternoon. 20 minutes later, Letitia appears outside. What happened in those 20 minutes? Or more importantly, what happened between 8:17 a.m. when she took the photos and when she emerged from the house 2 hours later? Unfortunately, we may never know. The house had ADT security. It had motion sensors, and it also had sensors on the doors. The motion detectors in the basement and in the living room showed no activity or movement between 10:12 a.m. and 2:22 p.m. A neighbor, Roderick Drayton, who lived a few doors down from the Stauch family, had an Xfinity video camera outside his home. This video faced towards the Stauch residence. You couldn't see their house, but you could see the end of their driveway. At 10:16 a.m. that morning, a pickup truck was parked on the street in front of the home. This is Al's red Nissan Frontier pickup. Letitia walks down the driveway to that truck. She looks like she has a backpack on, and she is carrying something in her hands, either a small bag or a purse. She gets to the driver's side door of the pickup, opens it up, perhaps sets her bags down, and gets inside. She backs the pickup into the driveway, and it looks like her car is in the driveway as well. After she backed into the driveway, she sits in the pickup about 23 seconds before she gets out and heads back towards the house. Unfortunately, the video doesn't show much beyond the back door of the pickup. 18 seconds later, Gannon comes into view, and he is headed for the back door of the pickup. He looks like he's moving slowly, and perhaps limping. Was he sick? Was he injured? If he was that sick, why would Letitia take him out to run pointless errands? He just seems to stand there, and at one point, he looks back towards the house. He opens the door, and something appears to fall out. 9 seconds after Gannon appears, Letitia reappears. She seems to pick up whatever dropped, and then apparently Gannon got in the back. T quickly gets in the driver's side door. She seems to be hurrying because a car is coming down the road. Did she not want the car to see her? To see Gannon? Once the car passes, she gets out, but she leaves the driver's door open. She walks back towards the house. Remember, we can't see the back of the pickup, and we can't see the bed of the pickup either. She is out of view for 52 seconds. What was she doing? Did she go back into the house? Did she go into the garage? Did she put something in the bed of the pickup? After 52 seconds, she comes back into view. She sits down in the driver's seat, and she closes the door. She sits inside the pickup for approximately 19 seconds, and then the pickup moves forward just a little. Then she sits for another 35 seconds. Then the pickup moves forward just a little bit more. Then it stops for another 13 seconds. Finally, the pickup leaves the driveway and turns left. You know when a vehicle exits a driveway and it kind of bounces a little bit? That's exactly what happened in this situation. When Letitia pulled the pickup out of the driveway, the pickup bounced. There was something in the bed of that pickup close to the cab that moved. However, due to the quality of the film, I couldn't tell what it was. What do you think it was? I don't know what it was, but I can definitely tell something was there. When Letitia left that morning, she left her phone at home. Did she mean to do that? Did she do it on purpose? Why? Was she concerned that the police would track her location and figure out exactly where she went that day? Where did she go?